Hi everyone. If you'd like to watch me make a collage today, that's the plan. So last week I printed some papers, the week before, plenty of papers I printed, and I'm finally getting around to pulling them together into a collage, which I have created right here. It is on the busy side. I don't know how to quiet it down, but I'm learning, and if you'd like to learn along with me, then join me over here and we'll create a collage featuring spirit beings. See ya. Bye. All right, everyone. I have been talking about this collage for a couple of weeks, and I'm finally pulling together enough time to be able to start it. So I've pulled out I've got a couple of packs of paper here that I have painted over the last couple of videos that we're going to go through together because I want you to see the decision making that I do. And I'm going to eventually collage everything onto this. I know you can't see the whole thing. It is a 16 by 20 canvas that I bought at the thrift store. It's not in good repair, but I'm actually making this piece of art for myself. I might offer prints of it, but I'm keeping it. This is art therapy for me. So it's a big black canvas, but it won't be when I'm done. So what I also want to tell you as I get started here is that I have made a number of collages on camera and have fairly powered through them, which is an interesting way to do things because your intuition kind of takes over when you're powering through because you don't have time to make lengthy decisions. But also what ends up happening, at least on some of them, is that they feel rushed. And this is a project that I don't want to rush. So I don't know how long this series is going to be. It's going to be in a single video, but it may be recorded over a couple of days. So what I want to show you what I'm playing with here because it's kind of fun. So this, for those of you who have seen my past several videos, you'll know that I have become completely obsessed with the artist Rex Ray. And I recently ordered and got this book, which is a book that came out in 2007 while he was still alive. And it's kind of an introduction of his work, but look, it's signed, which I'm very pleased about. So for those of you, just a quick overview, for those of you who don't know about Rex Ray, he's a collage artist. He died in 2015. Same age as me, 70 years old he would be this year. And so he started his collage career cutting out shapes and creating very simple but interesting. I mean, the negative space, the things that are not there are just as interesting as the things that are there. So I have been really heavily influenced by this guy's work. This stuff in particular is too simple for how I like to work, but I really find some of these things that he's put together very, very inspirational. So Rex Ray does stuff that inspires me, but my ultimate work doesn't end up looking like Rex Ray. But if you're a collage artist, if you're working and you're making gel prints and stuff like that, I really highly recommend. This book is expensive, but the one that's most recently released, because this is discontinued, is affordable. And just look into his work because what he does is he cuts out shapes. He creates patterned paper and textured paper, and he cuts out shapes. And I am highly motivated to do that. The reason I brought that up is one of the things that he does. Maybe I can look through this book and find it while I'm talking to you. He cuts things out. And when he cuts things out, he ends up getting very symmetrical shapes. There's a page in particular that I'm looking for. Can't hurt for you to look at it while I'm going through. He is able to create a whole bunch of symmetrical shapes because he's cutting things out of folded paper. And you see it again and again in here. What I'm looking for in particular, and I may have already passed it in my haste. Yeah, I probably have. Anyways, so you can see his work it's simple, but it's also very, very interesting, very engaging. So the piece of paper that you see on my table here that is obviously cut up was inspired by, this is what I'm looking for. I have made my version of this. And I did this morning while I was making coffee because I wanted to see what I could make and not do it on camera, because that would take just, it's like watching paint dry, watching somebody cut things out. But it's basically taking a piece of paper and folding it and folding it and folding it, and then just cutting shapes out of it until you get some really interesting things like this, which is, for me, because I'm a novice at this process, I don't know how to start. So the thing that I plan on doing, let me put this aside. I created papers the other day. I made all these neutral papers because I needed something. I'm working with spirit beings, and for those of you who are not familiar with the term, they are our deceased ancestors. And I have a deceased son, so I am always looking for ways to, continue to heal from that process, because it's bewildering. For any of you who have lost a child, you know what I mean. It is freaking bewildering when one of your children just leaves under any circumstance. It is just bewildering. So, quickly, these are my spirit beings. This is a gel print that I made, I don't know, a long time ago, and they are, sort of, they're spirit. They don't have a body anymore. They just have energy. So that's the motivation. That's the inspiration. And what I want to show you that I've got here, and I don't want to take too much time because I'm sure you just want me to cut to the chase, but what I'm planning on doing is getting some dark colors on this background as a way to start the process. And I really am particularly drawn to this. I think this is called raw sienna. And I also have papers in this pack that have that characteristic in it. So this looks like how I'm going to go, and how I'm going to get brightness and contrast in there might be as simple as just some of my hand-carved stamps. We'll see. So all right, look at cutouts. These are all twisted out of shape now, but look at this. Is just photocopy paper, photocopies that I made that, I didn't end up using, and these are just the cutouts. So I guess what I want to say to people who are new to the process of collage is that there's a million ways that you can do it. Using cutouts is almost like an entry-level way where you can, I made these the other day. These are they look like little freaking OGs or whatever, but they're very cool. And I think that that'll fill up space, make the background interesting. So what I'm saying to people that are early in the process is, if you try this cutout thing, you don't have to worry about composition, at least not immediately. What you can do is just play and cut out shapes and glue them down, which is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stop talking, and I apologize. Here I go. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the big, long introduction, which I always find very annoying. Okay, I want to make sure I got the top of this thing. I think I pulled out these. This is dark. What I'm looking for is to cover up this black, or at least to break it up in a fairly solid way. These are for later on. So I'm going to start out with this piece of paper. What am I going to do with this thing? I'm going to start out with those little cutouts, just like I showed you. So let me show you how I do that. Yeah, just do it. It's just a piece of paper. I started to get all precious about the paper again. And when I say that, what I mean is all of a sudden this paper has become really important. It took me a minute to make. And now all of a sudden I'm all worried about wasting it. If you do that like I do, I recommend that you override the urge. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump right in. Sorry for the loud noises. I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to start cutting shapes out of this that I'm going to, you'll see. Stop talking, Sheree. All right, I'm just going to drop these in places, and you'll see what I'm going to do. And if you've watched me collage with this Rex Ray inspired thing, you know what's coming. Because I am new and I don't know how to do this, I have a tendency to resort to things I understand that I've done before with some success, just to keep the party moving, because it can be overwhelming trying to figure out, I'm going to cut that off. It can be overwhelming trying to figure out like a new technique every time you start to collage when you're just learning. So I keep resorting to things that I know, which is not wrong, and you'll have seen this shape before. But what it does is it breaks up that big black void that I've created. And then this, well, I just want to unfold it and see what it looks like. I don't like those big giant holes. But I could cut through it on the fold and get some interesting shapes out of it. So this is not gone. So what I'm using for glue today, this is just regular matte medium kind of liquid. This is the kind that I have bought from Nova Color. This is a Princeton Catalyst Wedge, which is my favorite tool. This is just some regular matte gel medium that is, it is glued in here, so I'll get it out later. And I'm going to start doing this. So I'm going to drag this down, try to keep my head out of the viewfinder, and I am going to start gluing these things down without getting wicked self-conscious about it. All right, let's start. Okay. And I'm completely convinced that some of this is going to be tedious. So the way I usually start out my videos is I will often do real time for the first, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. And then as I get into some of the more repetitious stuff, I start cutting things out and, you know, kind of fading in instead of you watching me glue every single thing down. All right. I'm already getting in my head. Here, don't do that, Cherie. Yeah. All right. I'm definitely already in my head, guys. Boy, that didn't take very long at all. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. Shit. Oh, I am recording. Sorry about the mouth, but it's part of what you get. When you hang out with me, you get my dark side and my light side. All right. Here, let's just do this. So sorry, guys. Where is... I've got these beat up chip brushes that I buy from the home store. I want to make sure this is in camera. Okay. Let me get warmed up. I'll probably get a little more chatty once I'm warmed up. So the last time I worked on a collage this size, I actually, I did it on a side view, you know, where you were watching me from the side. And I'll tell you, what's good about that for me is that, see how my head's in the camera right now? I'm always very self-conscious about that, even though you guys tell me it doesn't matter. It matters to me. So, you see, this is just breaking up that shape. And I'm I'm just going to fill up this whole background like this. Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I actually do. It's a crapshoot, guys. We don't know. If you're a collage artist, you don't know what you're going to do next. If you try to plan it, and you can, good for you. I personally cannot. All right, so I'm just going to keep going until I run out of these shapes. But I already like the way it has broken up the space, so I don't feel like I haven't started anything. So I started to say that recording it on the side, for me, is kind of awesome because I can't see this close with my glasses on, but I also can't see the detail without my glasses. So I'm a little bit going blind here. All right, I've got more. I'm gonna go down. Rather than turn this into a thinking thing, which I just started to do. Nope, just gonna go down. So I also have set myself up for a little bit of a challenge by deciding that I want to these don't fit the way I imagine, but whatever. They're going to be so covered up, it doesn't really matter. The idea that I have in my mind for this is that I am going to put these spirit beings where most of us have a tendency to think they live, which is up or out or over or not sitting on the couch next to us. Which they, you know, there are a lot of people say that they are. I have experienced, I have experienced spirit behaving in ways that you'd find miraculous, because most of us think that, well, I don't know what most of us think. I'll tell you what I think. I think that once they're gone, they have shed their vehicle so that they are not visible to us, because we can only see in 3 dimensions. But there are people who can see them and do see them sitting on the couch next to us and can hear what they say. And they're not charlatans. They are people with an incredible ability to see different frequencies that the rest of us can't see. Now, I'm a little bit one of them. I am a little bit able to periodically see things that everybody says aren't there. Or, I keep saying that, everybody. Everybody doesn't do anything. Everybody's different. I am periodically able to see those that we call deceased. I am periodically able to hear their messages. Some of being able to do that is a state of mind, in the sense that when I am with a group of people who are actively trying to tune in to the spirit world, that active participation creates a frequency, a vibration, a something that makes it easier to do. All right, so I've done that. Look what I did. Look what I did, guys. I did all of this. Get that a little wiped down. Okay. Now, I'm going to take 1 minute and contemplate so I can spare you. Be right back. I think what I'll do next is just to use what I already have. You can see these little wrinkles from the window. They usually dry down pretty tight, so for those of you that are new, you will get little. I'm working with newsprint. I didn't mention that all of my papers that I'm working with today were printed over the last couple of sessions on newsprint. And newsprint is thin and flexible and absorbent, and I'm a great fan of working with it. I know that it's not archival, but I put so much glue on it, it's not like it's sitting out there bare naked. It's covered down. So rather than dig into a new group of papers, I still have these small shapes, and I'm going to see what can be, if I can just create a little pattern down the edge in these small shapes. And again, I'm really just trying to fill up this back. Just trying to fill up this back area so that I can figure out what's going to go over it. And I've got some thoughts about what's going to go over it. I see the spirit being. I started to say this, but I always lose track. I see them being up above us, and I think a house represents sort of the earth. The homes that we live in. Oh, can't tell if I'm touching my head or not. And for me, the symbology of a ladder, for some reason, has been tied to my son Neal's demise, because, I just kept looking out the window after he left and saying, "Where are you? Where did you go?" I don't he has answered, but not in a way that I can translate for you guys. He may be gone, but he's around. So the composition that I picture for this is a house. I see it being a dark house, but we'll see. A house with a ladder on the roof, reaching for above, whatever that is, and above being inhabited, populated, whatever, by those unearthly looking spirit beings. So that's the plan. I have not really figured out the layering aspect of it. I'm this type of collage in particular, I'm new at. And collage in general, newish, and my style has changed a lot. Since I discovered Rex Ray, I am particularly interested in these cutout shapes. I just think that they're interesting. I find it to be a low barrier for entry because pretty much anyone can cut, well, anyone without some sort of limitations physically, but, in terms of level of artistic expertise, pretty much anyone can cut up a piece of paper into weird shapes. Yeah, maybe move that down like that. Sure. Yeah, pretty much any of us, any level of experience artistically. Because if you notice the shapes that I'm cutting out, these are not sophisticated shapes. These are just little hoops, and I'm not, I don't have any kind of special skill. So, if you're looking for a way to try something new and you haven't been able to make yourself tear up a piece of paper and glue it down yet, maybe take a look at this, because I'm having a great deal of fun with it. And Sure, now I have these little round things left over, and again, since this is just a background I'm trying to glue down, that's what I'm going to do. Hey, stay there. Just going to keep gluing. I'm going to glue them down till they're gone, and then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do next. So yes, this to me, you may not agree, but to me, this feels like an accessible way to try collage. I personally, this could be, these shapes could look like things, like when I talk about a house, I'm probably going to end up with a shape that looks like a house. And I'm not I don't care for realism much. It's not that, it just, it's nothing wrong with it. There's some people that know how to make things look real, and it's pretty freaking impressive. But it's not for me. It's not I'm not interested in creating that kind of art. And I look at it, but I appreciate that it's a great deal of work. But I'm not curious. I don't want to learn how to do it. This collage stuff, this I'm curious about. I worked digitally for years doing collage digitally, which is in some ways easier than physical collage because you don't have to figure out how to get your materials to respond in particular. However, you have to learn how to use technology to do it the way that I did. But before I go let them dry, I want to show you what I've seen Rex Ray do differently than this, but I have seen him remove some of the glue. His is usually dipped in glue, so it's running off in rivers. I'm simply cleaning it off, which helps me to smooth the papers down, and it also helps me to just see what I've created. Okay, be back. Next up for cutting into shapes is this piece that I created, I don't know, I'll keep saying that, a while ago. Trying to keep my head out. I'm going to try something a little different this time. If you don't have, this is a bone folder. If you don't have that, use the side of a pen, which I have used forever until I had to have this. You don't have to have it. I'm going to do this one more time. What I want to create are those long looking, I want to make those. Okay. That's approximately how I did it. So let's just see how this goes. Yeah, didn't make these quite as long as they could have been, but and the shape is very different, but maybe that's part of what I like about this process is, Rex Ray's stuff is extraordinarily symmetrical. I would like to be able to create more symmetrical stuff, but I'm not highly motivated. All right, so let's see what I got. Oh, all right. That long tag. All right, so that's what those are going to look like. Not at all like these, but whatever. Then let's see what these look like. These just look like, can I interlock them in some way? How will I use these? I'm going to cut that off. I have that here too. Cutting it off. Okay. I'm not going to even fuss around with these. I'm just going to pull up my sheet and start, my canvas, and I'm going to start gluing them down. I don't care for that long tail between them, so I'm going to get rid of that. And that. Okay, come here, you. Okay, let's see. I'm going to start. How will I do this? I'm already starting to think, which I really don't want to do, but the reason I'm starting to think is because this area, I have to check for the little clamp. This area here is my sky. But if I start worrying about that now, I'll get tangled up. So I'm just gonna glue these down. All right, but now I'm second guessing myself. Okay, they're not as dark as I have in mind. But you know, I'm going with them anyways, because this is the lesson, guys. This is the background. The background on the kind of collages that I want to make, they get covered up. They get completely covered up. There's little tiny sketches of them left over. So I'm going to try really hard not to get all tangled up in my head and just get them down. They get covered up. And this area here kind of is where I sort of imagine my clouds to be. Sure, let's just start with that one right there. Just glue them down. You can see I didn't make anything fancy here. I didn't try to make it perfect. First of all, because I don't know how. And second of all, because it doesn't matter. At least not at this stage of my artistic development. I am in the early stages, not so much of gel printing, because I have been doing that for a little while, longer than I remember. I think it's been since 2014 was when I got my first plate, and 20 was when when we were all locked in the house like friggin' prisoners. That was when I started actually printing. And, you know, watching Foil Davies, buying every single tool that I saw her use because I was convinced, and you may be too, that if you only had that tool, you could be a great artist like Froyle. Yeah, you know what? It's fake news, guys. No tool makes you like Foil Davies. What makes you like Foil Davies, first, is being Foil Davies, and second, experimentation. She's pretty fearless. She just barrels on ahead, and she glues things down, and she's impatient. She tears them up before they're ready to be torn up, and, you know, does all kinds of stuff. You'll learn from what she does, you know, that's quote unquote wrong, as well as what she does right. And those are, I use both of those words loosely. Okay. All right, so now I've got some spaces to fill. And I've got these odd little shapes. So, can I do something with them? Sure. And then, let's make some interesting shapes. So I started to tell you that this is, if you're around it all for any amount of time, you're going to find out that it is very common for me to stop talking, to start a story and not finish it, to get distracted by the process and to forget what I'm talking about. So I was talking about spirit beings. Hold on, I'm going to fix this off camera. And I was telling you that I'm one of those people that can, every once in a while, I get what feel like, well, they don't feel like it, they are. I get messages. I hear, I know. It's a pretty remarkable thing. When my son first left, it was, I don't know how I would have gotten by. I don't know how I would have made it if I didn't have the church of spiritual life. I don't know how I would have made it without that community, because pretty much everybody that came to that church was bewildered by loss. You know, and I think most of us are bewildered by loss. I don't like to make blanket statements, but it is confusing when you lose somebody that you love. Unless you have like a really well-developed faith, which I don't have. I had it a long time ago, but I lost it. And I don't feel, I'm not mourning its loss. You can see I am definitely not trying to make something beautiful here. I'm just trying to cover this thing up. But I don't like how light that is, so I'm going to deal with that in a minute. But when you're trying to understand loss, when you're dealing with a loss, and we all do, there's no get out of jail free card on this. We are all, without exception, we're going to lose everybody we love unless they lose us first. I've said that before as well, but it's true. And the only thing that we can really do is find a way to make peace with it, because it is inevitable. All right, so this is something I used this gray tissue paper on an earlier collage to cover up a lot of stuff that I didn't like, and you know what? I liked what it did. So I'm going to try it again. So these tissue papers are nice because they kind of just disappear into the layers above. But they also let what's underneath show. So that has disguised the lightness of that, and it has kind of unified this area. Let's see. Let's just keep going. So for those of you who are living with loss and are still wondering what in the world this whole life, come here you, this whole life thing is, and what it means, I know it feels like a lonely journey because a lot of the people in my life don't ask these questions. They're, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know how you can't be completely bewildered by losing somebody. But some people accept it as just a a part of life. And it is. I mean, it's not like I'm not accepting the reality of death. It's just that I want to know more. If it's possible for me to communicate with the child that I lost, I want to do it. I want to know. I want to hear something that tells me he's okay, that he's okay, that wherever it is that we go, who knows where that is. We all have, I think a lot of us have ideas. We don't know. We don't know anything. As far as I know, most of us don't get to come back once we leave. That's it. Some people have had that whole near-death experience, which is another remarkable thing. But for the most of us, when we go, that's it. And for the most part, because people don't know how to listen, they can't hear us if we're trying to tell them. We figure that out probably early on. Wait a minute, I'm talking to these people and they can't hear me. They have no idea I'm trying to talk to them. Okay, that is not wrong what I'm doing here. So I'm going to continue to do it. If there's anybody out there that's listening to this that has learned to listen to spirit, I'd love it if you told us a story in the comments, because I never get tired of hearing from people that have learned to listen and hear beyond the veil. I just am fascinated by it. I know some people think it's maybe dangerous or evil. I don't think we'd be capable of doing it if it wasn't part of the gifts that we incarnate with, that we arrive with those gifts. When my son first left, I used to drive his pickup truck all the time after he left because, I don't know, because it felt like, I don't know, just felt like it was his truck. I wanted to, that's not what I had in mind. I wanted to commune with him. I wanted to be near where his energy spent so much time. Why are you not tearing the way I want? Because you're going against the grain, sure, E. Right. Papers have a direction. If it fights you, tear it in the other direction. All right, here, I got a big pile of stuff. I can continue to quiet this down. Okay, see how wrinkly my newsprint is? We'll check it out later, after it's not all wet. I was actually hoping that today was going to be a day when I could put this stuff out in the sun to dry, because it takes minutes for everything to dry. The answer is no, not today, because we've had rain and rain and more rain, and we're getting more rain, and tomorrow we're getting rain, and the day after that we're getting rain. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go quiet on this for a little while, because this is going to be really repetitious, and I will play my brother in the background while I work these layers. So I'll be back. Okay, I need to talk myself through this, and you might as well hear the process. So let me tell you what I'm thinking. So what I'm thinking about doing, and I hope it's not too literal. I really want this to be very symbolic, but what I'm imagining, and I don't know if I've already told you this, I've got this idea that this is the earthly plane, and in my mind, I represent the earthly plane by a house. So I see a house here. I don't know how, and I see somehow a ladder leaving that house and going up into this dark sky. So the sky that we see above us at night is dark, punctuated with some stars. But in my mind's eye, if we are made of light and we return to light, then it's not dark up there. So it feels like this part of the sky, I don't want it to be literally all blue and bright or whatever, but I want pieces of something peeking through in a transitional area. So I am going to, I just grabbed this roll-off sheet. I just want to see if there's anything. Oh, this is all my neutrals. Okay. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. Where did that go? I've got these. I'll just go through them with you so you can see my thought process. I'm looking for, I don't know, a transitional, these are very vivid. These are not what I'm thinking of. I want it to show, but I don't want it to be vivid. These are all too bright. That might not be. All right, let's look at these together for a couple of minutes. So I just started to rush myself, and I told myself when I started this process that I was not going to rush myself. So I'm going to slow down and take some time to get what I'm looking for. I'm not ready for that, but very yummy. Okay. What I like about, not yet, I'm not forgetting about you. What I like about this, and in particular this area, is that I might be able to transition if I tear some shreds and start working it into here, and then tear some shreds back there and put thinner layers. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, so I would like to, let me find out which way this paper tears. Not that way. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to just start here because I don't know where to start, so this is still a very dark blue. Not exactly what I had in mind, but I didn't really know what I had in mind. Okay, I do like the way that brings that black in. I do like it without the white. Well, you know what? The white kind of, it just goes in. Don't worry about it. Oh. Okay, I have off camera, because I forgot to press record, I have created these, I've torn up these sheets, this white one and this kind of beige one, and I'm probably going to mix a little bit of this in with it as well, because I like the darker contrast compared to the less. So I just want to place that there. Let me tell you where I am right now. So I'm going to build a house. And this just kind of disappears into the background, but so does this. So I might have to solve some of this with pen work or paint at the end. But I'm going to build a house here with some landscape here. With this ladder stamp, I have to figure out how I'm going to get that. I'm not sure. This might be hard. I might be able to press that on there and get my ladder. I want this ladder going up into the clouds. I can build doors and windows and things out of this, which will tie that in. And here somehow, this part I haven't figured out. Well, there's a whole bunch that I haven't figured out. So really the only way for me to figure it out is just to do it on camera. And I also dug out some, I used to do a lot of work with hand-carved stamps. So I've just dug out some things that might bring some interest into this, because this is mixed media, and mixed media is a mix of media. So that's the possible next stage. So I think maybe I'm going to build my house first, and then I'm going to build my house first. I'm going to have to tuck some things in and build my clouds around it. I'm not quite sure how that's all going to go. I'll figure it out. But now I'm starting to feel like I need other colors. Okay, I'm going to be brave. I'm just going to glue this thing down, because my routine is if I don't commit to something, nothing gets done. So that's the planio. This is kind of making me laugh how nervous I am about doing this. I just got off the phone with my brother, and I was telling him I was having a little bit of nervousness. He says, well, how can you possibly be nervous? You've been doing this all this time. And I'm like, I don't know, because I don't really know what I'm doing. Having poor performance anxiety. This is very literal for me, guys. This is clearly me trying to make this look like a house. It kind of needs some sort of a cute-ass little peak on its roof. Wait. Let's let that wait. And maybe let's start figuring out clouds. Here, you get out of my way. All right. Let's start figuring out cloud. That is very rustic looking. Sure-y. All right. Now, where are my little beings? Do I have to build my, I think I need my beings. Okay, I'm going to make them light. They're going to be light beings. And they're going to be this tall. But I'm gonna have to make a commitment. Here, let's just glue some things down here. That's where they're gonna live. Now, I'm just gonna cut them out. make a taller one. I suppose I could have folded this up like I was doing with the cutouts, but maybe they all need to be different. Yeah, this one's way too tall. It's like it's a giant among beings. Maybe one of these needs to be a tiny being. You know, like a little being that came in and left quickly, like some of us do. Okay, that's where they're gonna go. Their heads look big, but maybe I can tighten that up with black pen. Okay, now I should like to tuck them in to the cloud bank. I think the pen work on this one is going to be pretty important. The clouds are not quite as fluffy as I thought that they would be, but I'm not sure if you really get to pick your clouds, do you? I think you get what you get. Okay, so I'm looking at the clock and I'm thinking that once I get these clouds set up, I am going to call it a day for today, which will allow me to get these things dry and to spend, I'm sure, the evening awake thinking about this design because that's how I roll. Okay, so that's going to need, I can see I'm going to want to break that up with some black lines. That needs to be softened. I feel like I'm, actually before I go, you know what I'm going to do? I've got a little bit more black. I'm going to try to break up what I put up there. Because I want something for their, I want their halos to be visible on top of black, because I'll do their halos in gold. Here, I've got my head in, so I'm going to bring her down. I'm going to break that up a little bit more, but I'm out of black to tear. I'll have to dig some more out. Okay, I'm going to call this one a day today, allow this to dry overnight, spend half of my evening thinking about what I want to do to it, and then I'll come back tomorrow and see if I can't get some land here. Or maybe I'll look some pictures up on the internet and find out if these should be darker in the front or lighter. I don't, seems like the further away, the darker they would be, but what do I know? Anyways, I'll be back, guys. Thank you so much for watching so far. Appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm back. And a little bit of history. Off camera, not intentionally off camera because I'm an old gal and I'm, you know, a little rusty with technology. I glued down these tissue papers. I've got tissue paper from the dollar store. So I glued down this green tissue paper and put a little bit of teal over it. I cut out some of these little flowers and glued those down. I put some pen work around the people because their heads were giant, and I've used a little bit of Posca pen to kind of fill in the blanks. It's obvious, but I think once I'm finished with it, it won't be. And then the next thing that I want to do is play around with this colorway to be trees. And I don't know what those are going to look like. And here are some of my digital designs, the same thing in a different colorway, that I think work really well with this collage, that I don't know how I'm going to integrate into this collage, but I am. And that's what I'm going to do today if I can remember to turn on my stinking camera. So here we go. I'm getting ready to go. I'm probably going to have to go silent on this because I just don't know what I'm going to do. But I think I'm going to make tree branches. Yeah, I was sitting on the couch trying to watch videos, and I don't watch very many videos anymore. Now that I'm a content creator, I've become very particular about what I give my time to. Okay, I do like that. All right, I'm just going to glue. I'm going to glue stuff down. So let's put that there. All right, now I'm going to, maybe I'm going to make a tree. With branches like the first one I started out with. I can definitely see that I've used colors that are a little bit dark in here. Like this house, I know that this house has disappeared, but I'm going to draw some siding on it and some ceiling tiles and window panes and stuff like that. So I should be able to resurrect that a little bit. That's just going to disappear on there. It needs something else. If I were a better painter, I might be able to put some backgrounds around this. These are some tiny things I'm fussing around with. This is not what I had in mind, but we'll see. I don't know where these little leaves are going to go. Yeah, so you guys that have access to a scanner or even just to photograph your work, if you want to photograph or scan some of your collages that have a lot of pattern into your computer, then you too would be able to play around with adding some interesting texture. These are fun. I mean, I'm not unhappy with what's happening here. I need a branch for that that's not going to disappear. think until it dries completely and I do some pen work on it, I think the pen work is going to be what saves it. I'll be able to add the detail onto this, put some, I don't know, maybe shade and shadow next to that. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but let me clean up so that I can see better. I'll be back. Okay, I have a few things here. I'm not convinced that this is done, but I don't think I'm going to know how much more to do to it until I get some pen work on it. Okay, so let's see what you can see. So you've got a little field of flowers down here, which are not very contrasty, but they're better than what's happening up here. So what I have for drawing stuff is my usual favorite things. I have white. These are called, I have to look at it every single time, Uniball Signo pens. Gold, white, and black, my three favorites. I have a gold Sharpie and some Posca pens, but I also have this giant pile of Posca pens here because I keep buying different colors. And part of what I did off camera when I thought I was recording was to draw some black circles around these heads because they were so big. They kind of look like aliens, guys, which I used to be a big fan of, and now I'm starting to question that. So anyways, what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to probably start with this house, and I will speed it up because this is a lengthy process. The first thing I'm going to work on is this house area. So watch me while I work. Listen to my brother strum. His music is called Drop D. I don't know what that means. I think it might have something to do with musical notes, but first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to reshape that because this is sitting on top of black. So I'm going to reshape this and see if I can't get it to be a little more symmetrical. feel like I'm done for now. And with me, it's always for now, because sometimes it just sits on the floor in my living room up against my bookcase, and I just look at it. This is my child. This is my son, Neal, who I have turned into an angel. And this whole piece of work symbolizes him having left the house one day and never returned again. I never got to see him. He just took off into the great wild yonder. I'm going to see if I can't. I'm going to try to see if I can't dull down some of the white around his wings while I'm saying, oh, that needs something beige. Let's try this beige here. Not so awesome. Anyways, thank you for watching me make this piece of art, commemorating for me, my son, and for you, someone you have lost, because we have all lost someone we love. Okay, I think those are the finishing touches for my boy. So thank you again for staying with me while I created this piece of art. I do feel like I'm going to have to lighten that up there, but it's not now. So let me just bring it a little bit closer. So there's the bottom. There's the trees. There are our loved ones. Here's our home and our garden. That was fun. That was fun. I'm glad I finally got a video to you guys, because I've been a little distracted. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being with me today. I look forward to hearing your comments. And if there's anything that you'd like me to focus on next, let me know, because I'm always casting around for my next new thing. Thanks. See ya. Bye.